Welcome back into the Enrichment Sports Source. This segment brought to you by Tennova Healthcare, with locations all across East Tennessee, with a myriad of medical services provided. Everything from robotic surgery to orthopedic care, from cancer care to child delivery. Tennova is the East Tennessee hospital that families should turn to, you and your family should turn to for any diagnostic needs, treatment needs that you may have. You can check out Tennova.com. You see their website right there, Tennova.com. Check them out this week and learn more about the many, many different services that they provide to East Tennessee communities all over the region. Tennova, we're happy to have them as part of this show. All right. Want to talk about the SEC. Tennessee, it's interesting. There were 3 teams listed by Joe Lunardi in his bracketology thing this week as being from the SEC in the NCAA tournament. Florida, Kentucky, and Tennessee still in there. I personally don't think the SEC deserves 3 bids. I want to show you what's happened since over the last 13 seasons. Look at this. All right, there's the conference RPI on the left-hand column. You see it's second, first, third, second, down to fifth, first. Then look about 2008, fourth, sixth, 8th, 7th right now. Also look at the number of NCAA bids. It was 6 and 5 every year. In 2008, you're the 4th best team, the 4th best league. They still give you 6 bids, almost like a show of good faith. And then that goes away. 3, 4, 5, 4, 3. 3 at most this year, I think. You look at that, and I want to know why. Now, I'm going to give you my theory to get the ball rolling here. I know Mark's got a theory. It's a good one. I think it has a little bit to do with money. That change happened right about the time when the new television contracts kicked in. Television money is all about football. I think a lot of programs looked at it, and the SEC is a football league anyway. I think a lot of these programs looked at it and said, what are we going to do with this money? Let's reinvest it into football facilities, football coaches. You look across the SEC football roster of coaches, it's as good as anywhere in America. You look across the SEC basketball coaching roster, doesn't match up with the ACC or maybe even the Big Ten. So I think money is a part of it. Now, Mark, you got a different take, which is a pretty good one.
I think it all boils down for me, players. And if you look at the states of SEC states outside of Florida and the state of Texas, on the average, the last 4 years, only 15 of the top 100 players are from the SEC states. So the majority of your basketball players, top players in the country, are not from this league. They're from Big Ten country, from ACC country. They're from, the A-10, the Missouri Valley, all these places that are better basketball leagues. Starts at a young age. Down here, it's more about football. Up there, I grew up outside Chicago. It's in us from early on, basketball.
Well, that's the thing that's stunning to me is 15 of the top 100 best players from the South. Why, 250 of the top 300 in football are from the South. Do those tie together? Are you seeing the great athletes in the South drift toward football rather than toward basketball? I think that's part of the issue.
I think football's more important in the South, and that's why more of them drift that way. I think a lot of it also has to do with not getting the right fit as a coach. For example, LSU hires a guy who was a successful college coach in Trent Johnson from the West Coast. He was not a fit in Baton Rouge. Mark Fox goes to Georgia. Got a nice record, but he's not a good fit at Georgia. And in fact, I believe this is true. The top 10 players from the state of Georgia, I think he got none or one because he doesn't fit into that situation. I think it's a lot about getting coaches in the right fit. I think that's what's hurt them. Now, and so I think the coaching is much because the coaches aren't getting the players.
Right.
So I think it's a combination. When LSU went to the Final Four under John Brady, about 7 or 8 of those players were from the Baton Rouge or New Orleans area. Trent Johnson comes in, he can't get anybody from Baton Rouge or New Orleans. Right. So I think the coaching is a big part of that too.
All right, so we got coaching, we got the recruiting base. I think money plays a role in it, which feeds back into coaching, which plays back into who you're going to recruit. Guys, you got a theory on what happened to the SEC?
Well, I just think you've had such a turnover, in basketball coaches in this league. If coaches are not successful in 2 years, everybody wants to fire them. This league does not have a good reputation of institutions staying behind their coaches and letting the coaches have an opportunity, to move up. You need time when you come into a program. Let's just take our president coach here at the University of Tennessee. He came into a deplorable situation, and what did he do? The first year, he had his team, I think third in the conference, or maybe a tie for third. well, that was an accomplishment. But if you're not winning really big all the time, I think SEC programs have a tendency to really want to start firing coaches. And you need to have coaches who have had some success. I think Kevin Stallings has done a wonderful job, obviously, over at Vanderbilt. His record proves it, and his longevity is allowing him to bring the type of players, that he thinks can be successful as students and athletes at Vanderbilt. But you look at these other programs, and so often, it's just a turnover mill. It's a revolving door. When Coach Mears was here at the University of Tennessee, it was not that way for Tennessee, and so consequently, his programs were very successful over a long period of time. I just think that programs have to make more of a commitment, and as Jimmy kind of pointed out, as well as Mark, these are all very good points that they're making. But I think the institutions need to have the guts to stand behind a coach longer, and let him have a chance to recruit and develop some players rather than just firing them, as fast as they've been firing coaches.
Chuck, last word.
You add it all up, and you can see it in the non-conference numbers, and those don't lie when you consistently lose to the other top conferences. How many top point guards in the country are in the SEC?
Yeah.
How many
Good
post
point, too.
players do you have that can finish around the rim?
Yeah.
Not near as many as a lot of the other conferences. And I'm really, really disappointed in a lot of the SEC schools at the fan turnout at some of these games.
Yeah.
It looks like they've had a blizzard or an ice storm, and the fan support, I think, factors into it too.
You most recently were on the road in these situations. What do you think about, very quickly, what do you think about the SEC fan outpouring? I think there are 3 or 4 schools that really support basketball. Are there more than that really care, that show you that they care about basketball, or is it pretty much, for the most part around the league, it's football and then basketball is a diversion until spring practice starts?
I think it's football, and then until they prove that they have a winner. And then once the winner's there, the fan base becomes unbelievable, and they show up in droves. Because we go to Florida, they're top 15 team in the country the last couple years, and they're still not selling out.
Yep.
They're
It's
just
not a big arena either.
right. And so it's just a football fan base down here.
All right. Very good, guys. Now you know. That's why the SEC stinks. 5 different reasons. All right. When we come back, Bob Hodge joins us. We're going to talk a little Tennessee recruiting. 5 names. We're 11 days from signing day. 5 names of guys who could come off UT's board or who could surprise us and land on UT's board. We'll talk about it. Come on back on the Enrichment Sports Source.
Miss an episode of the Enrichment Sports Source? Catch up online at sportsource.tv.